Every day, people argue and lose. Not because they're wrong, but because they speak without strategy, without facts, without authority. What if I told you that in the next few minutes, you could learn how to argue so powerfully that people stop, listen, and respect every word you say? Mastering the facts before you speak is not just a skill, it's a mindset, a discipline, and a strategy that separates the casual debater from the person who can command a room with authority. Think about it for a moment. Every time someone argues without knowledge, without preparation, without certainty, they leave themselves vulnerable. Words become hollow, opinions become weak, and the credibility they wish to project crumbles under the first challenge. Knowledge is not just power, it's armor. It shields you from manipulation, it empowers you to challenge assumptions, and it allows you to navigate conversations with precision and confidence. Imagine walking into a discussion fully aware of every detail, every nuance, every possible counterpoint. You are not guessing, you are not hoping, you are executing with purpose. That is the difference between arguing like anyone else and arguing like a lawyer. Lawyers don't just talk, they investigate, they analyze, they anticipate. They understand the case inside out, and then they structure their words in a way that makes their argument inevitable. You can do the same. To master the facts, you must first commit to relentless research. You must be obsessed with accuracy. There is no shortcut here. You cannot rely on hearsay assumptions or vague memories. You must dig deeper. Every argument you make must be rooted in verifiable evidence. When you speak, your words must reflect certainty because they are built on truth, not conjecture. If you want people to trust what you say, they need to see that your knowledge is comprehensive, that you have done your homework, and that you are not merely repeating popular opinions or half-truths. The moment someone senses hesitation, doubt, or ignorance in your voice, they will exploit it. Knowledge is your shield, and preparation is your sword. Start by collecting all relevant information. In any topic, there is always a spectrum of data, opinions, and perspectives. A lawyer does not rely on one source. They cross-reference, they verify, they challenge assumptions. You must do the same. Read, watch, listen, and analyze everything related to your subject. Take notes, categorize facts, and prioritize them according to relevance and strength. Organize your knowledge so that when the moment comes, you can access it instantly. When you know your material inside out, your confidence naturally radiates. People don't just listen, they lean in. They respect your authority because your foundation is unshakable. Understanding the facts also means anticipating counterarguments. A lawyer always prepares for the opposition. They imagine the questions, objections, and challenges they might face, and they prepare evidence and reasoning to address them. You must train yourself to do the same in every conversation, every negotiation, every discussion. Think about the weak points in your position, the areas where someone might disagree, and the ways they could challenge your perspective. Then, before you speak, formulate responses that are calm, factual, and persuasive. This is not about confrontation. It's about mastery. It's about being so well prepared that no argument surprises you, no attack rattles you, and no question leaves you stumbling. Another critical aspect of mastering the facts is distinguishing between facts and opinions. Facts are verifiable. They are objective. They cannot be disputed. Opinions are subjective. They are colored by perception and emotion. When you argue without separating the two, you risk presenting weak arguments disguised as truth. Lawyers understand this distinction intuitively. They know that evidence wins cases, not feelings. You must cultivate the same awareness. Speak the facts with clarity and confidence. Present your opinions carefully, clearly labeled, and backed by reasoning or evidence whenever possible. The clarity between what is fact and what is opinion will not only strengthen your argument, it will also build your credibility. People are drawn to truth, And when they recognize that your words are rooted in it, they cannot dismiss you easily. Preparation also involves understanding the context. Facts alone are not enough. You must know why they matter. In every argument, there is a narrative, a structure, and a flow. Facts must be presented in a way that supports your overall point, that connects logically to the conclusion you want others to reach. This is the artistry of persuasion. Knowing the facts is like having the raw materials. Understanding how to use them is where skill and strategy come in. Think about the difference between a lawyer who knows the law but cannot argue effectively in court versus one who knows the law and can weave every detail into a compelling, irresistible argument. Mastering facts is the foundation. Crafting them into a persuasive narrative is the execution. To master the facts before you speak also means being disciplined with your time. Preparation cannot be rushed. You cannot skim articles or rely on surface-level understanding. Deep knowledge comes from commitment. It comes from prioritizing learning over comfort, from valuing mastery over convenience. Many people shy away from this level of preparation because it feels tedious, overwhelming, or unnecessary. But this is precisely what gives you the edge. While others rely on instinct or luck, you rely on certainty. While others stumble or backtrack when challenged, you remain calm, composed, and commanding. Your words carry weight because your knowledge is unshakable and people recognize that. Confidence is a natural byproduct of mastering facts. When you know the truth inside out, when you have anticipated every challenge, when you have organized your knowledge strategically, speaking becomes effortless. Your tone becomes calm but firm, your posture becomes authoritative, and your presence becomes magnetic. People listen not because you are louder, they listen because you are credible, informed, and precise. They instinctively sense that your words are trustworthy. This is the power of preparation. It is not arrogance. It is competence. It is not showmanship. It is mastery. Even in situations where you face unexpected questions or challenges, mastering the facts gives you flexibility. You can think on your feet because you understand the landscape. You can pivot, explain, and clarify without losing authority. You do not need to bluff, exaggerate, or evade. Every answer you give is rooted in truth, and that truth is your anchor. The more you practice this discipline, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, preparation becomes second nature. You start to anticipate gaps in your knowledge, you fill them proactively, and your arguments become sharper, more compelling, and nearly unassailable. Mastering the facts before you speak is more than just preparation. It is a declaration of respect. Respect for the people you engage with, respect for the truth, and respect for yourself. It demonstrates that you do not take conversations lightly, that you value integrity over convenience, and that you are willing to invest the effort required to be persuasive, credible, and impactful. Those who argue without knowledge may win small battles, but they rarely win hearts, trust, or lasting influence. Those who argue like lawyers, who master the facts, understand context, anticipate counterarguments, and speak with clarity, win not just discussions, but respect, authority, and long-term influence. Every time you choose to prepare, every time you commit to mastering the facts, you are investing in yourself and your ability to influence the world. You are stepping into a mindset that refuses mediocrity, that refuses to be swayed by emotion alone, and that refuses to settle for being ordinary. The discipline of preparation transforms ordinary words into weapons of persuasion, ordinary discussions into platforms of influence, and ordinary conversations into opportunities to inspire, lead, and command authority. To argue like a lawyer, your foundation must be unshakable. Facts are not just supporting points. They are the pillars that hold your argument, your credibility, and your presence. Without them, everything else crumbles. With them, everything becomes possible. You can navigate complexity with ease, confront challenges with poise, and persuade with clarity. The world rewards those who know, understand, and apply the truth strategically. When you master the facts before you speak, you are not just preparing, you are elevating yourself to a level of influence, authority, and mastery that few ever achieve. Speaking with strategy rather than emotion is the secret weapon that separates someone who merely argues from someone who convinces, commands respect, and leaves a lasting impact. Think about it. Every day we see people losing control in conversations, letting frustration, anger, or impatience dictate their words. And what happens? Their points are lost, credibility is diminished, and the moment they hoped to influence slips away. Speaking with strategy means taking control over your mind before you open your mouth. It's not about suppressing emotion, it's about directing it intelligently. Every word, every pause, every gesture should have a purpose. Lawyers know this instinctively. They understand that a well-placed statement, delivered calmly and deliberately, has far more power than a shouted argument fueled by frustration. You can harness the same principle in every discussion, debate, negotiation, or confrontation you face in life. The first step in speaking strategically is mastering self-control. Before you respond, pause, breathe, and assess the situation. Emotions are powerful. They can cloud judgment, distort facts, and lead to impulsive reactions. If you respond while angry or defensive, you are no longer making a persuasive argument. You are venting, and venting rarely changes minds. Strategic speakers observe, listen, and evaluate. They ask themselves, what is my goal? How can I frame this point to be most effective? What is the response I want to elicit? By focusing on the outcome rather than the emotion, you shift from reactive communication to proactive influence. Understanding your audience is another crucial part of strategy. You cannot argue effectively if you ignore the mindset, values, or priorities of the person you are speaking to. Lawyers craft arguments tailored to the jury, judge, or opposing counsel, choosing language, examples, and emphasis that resonate. You must do the same. Speak in terms that your audience understands, appeals that matter to them, and evidence that they cannot dismiss. Emotional outbursts may feel satisfying in the moment, but they often alienate listeners, obscure your message, and weaken your position. Strategic communication is always audience-centered. It is designed not for catharsis, but for influence. The power of structure cannot be overstated. Strategic speakers organize their arguments logically, building point by point in a way that leads listeners to the conclusion you want them to reach. Random statements, emotional rants, or disconnected thoughts confuse the listener and dilute your message. Structure allows you to control the flow of information, anticipate objections, and guide your audience naturally toward agreement. Lawyers spend hours organizing case files, evidence, and testimony to ensure that when they speak, the path to their conclusion is undeniable. You can do the same in your life. Plan your words, rehearse your reasoning, and deliver them in a way that maximizes impact. Timing is also a key component of strategy. Knowing when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to emphasize a point can transform the outcome of a conversation. A strategic speaker knows that silence can be more powerful than words. Pausing after a statement allows it to sink in, giving listeners space to process and reflect. Interruptions, rushed explanations, or emotional outbursts, on the other hand, break the rhythm, create tension, and reduce persuasion. Every word should land intentionally, every pause calculated to enhance understanding, influence, and authority. Another element of strategic speaking is framing. How you present information changes how it is received. Lawyers are masters of framing. They present facts in a way that highlights strengths, mitigates weaknesses, and guides perception. You must do the same. If you focus solely on what is wrong or what frustrates you, your audience may become defensive. But if you frame your points around solutions, benefits, or logical consequences, you guide the listener toward alignment rather than opposition. Strategy in speaking is the ability to control perception without manipulation, to guide thought without coercion, and to influence decisions without confrontation. Preparation and anticipation reinforce strategy. Strategic speakers prepare for objections, anticipate counterpoints, and craft responses in advance. They don't wait to react, they act with foresight. This preparation reduces reliance on emotional reactions and allows you to maintain calm authority even under pressure. When challenged, you respond with clarity, precision, and relevance rather than defensiveness. The more you anticipate, the less you are controlled by surprise, provocation, or emotional triggers. Finally, strategic speaking requires consistent practice and reflection. Every interaction is an opportunity to refine your approach. Observe how others respond, evaluate which tactics worked, and adjust accordingly. Strategic communication is not static. It evolves as you become more aware of your own habits, the dynamics of discussion, and the nuances of persuasion. Like a lawyer owning courtroom skills, you must continually practice, reflect, and refine your ability to speak with strategy rather than emotion. When you master this skill, arguments transform from battles into opportunities. Conversations become stages where you demonstrate intelligence, composure, and authority. People listen not because you are louder. They listen because every word is deliberate, every idea carefully presented, and every point anchored in strategy. Emotional reactions may dominate moments, but strategy wins influence. Your voice becomes a tool of precision rather than impulse, a weapon of persuasion rather than frustration, a signal of confidence rather than insecurity. The moments you might have once lost to anger or haste become opportunities to assert control, shape perception, and achieve your objectives.